Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the scenes is Nicole Letson, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. You might have heard me say before that my college degree is in film. I actually have a Bachelor's of Science in Communication with a major in digital film production and a minor in film history. So while we're waiting for the Strixhaven preview season to really get going, I thought it would be fun to take one more look back at Kaldheim and the set's cinematic trailer through the eyes of a film major. If you haven't seen the Kaldheim cinematic trailer yet, you should probably pause this video and do that, because every piece of media deserves to be enjoyed on its own first so you can form your own impressions. And now, if you're ready, let's break down the Kaldheim cinematic trailer extended cut. Here we go. Okay, so our opening shot is a medium close-up of this blonde bearded Viking looking guy. It doesn't give us much of the location. We can make out some trees behind him, but I think an establishing shot from a wider vantage point would have helped set the scene here. We pull back and get to see, yes, we are in a dark and moody forest, and our Viking is being approached by what turns out to be trolls. Mr. Viking doesn't seem too worried. In fact, he's like, yeah, come on, let's do this. Let's go to Strixhaven, which is a good way of using very little dialogue to express how things work on the plane. So obviously you and I know this is taking place on Kaldheim, a plane inspired by Norse mythology. But it's important to remember most people watching are probably not enfranchised Magic players. Which means this trailer must communicate where we are, what's happening, and why, all within just a few minutes. Look at the red glowing eyes of the trolls and how they are mostly in shadows, while our Viking is dressed in white and standing in the light. That's a pretty basic but effective way of communicating bad guys and good guys to the audience. Pay attention to how often that happens in this trailer. Then we get our first bit of real action. There's this purple glow, and then Kaya materializes and starts swinging her axes at the trolls. Kaya is a planeswalker, and her powers include the ability to ghost form herself, which lets her pass through solid objects like walls and doors. She can also use it defensively and allow incoming attacks to pass through her without causing harm. What ghost form cannot do is teleport her. She's not Nightcrawler from the X-Men. She still has to walk or climb or jump to cover any sort of ground, and while she is nimble, being that she's an assassin, I think this trailer takes some liberties with her mobility. Anyway, she tells the Viking to go save the others, which we haven't seen, and he's like, nah man, I'm good, I'm ready to die and go to Strixhaven. But Kaya repeats herself, and then he's like, well, okay, maybe I'll just go die off screen then. Then we get what I would call an unmotivated cut away to a boat in some rough water, which is a good establishing shot, I guess. It then pushes in on Ingaroon eyes, but I don't think it holds here long enough for you to realize what's going on with her eyes. Her character design is very busy. There's a lot happening with the hair and the clothing and the face tattoos, all pulling you away from her defining feature, which is her eyes. We cut away to a wolf with some trees for scale, which tells us this is no ordinary wolf, and then pull back again and see that Inga is headed right at the wolf, but it's not clear why or what she plans to do when she gets there. She's not holding any weapons, and she doesn't seem to have any other ships there to support her. The pace starts to really pick up now. We go back to Kaya, flipping around and still fighting those trolls, all in a very closely framed, almost Michael Bay style battle. This does make it feel frantic, but it's also hard to see what's really happening. Obviously, they can't show a lot of blood or gore here in a trailer for a kid's card game, but is Kaya killing these trolls? Or just knocking them out? Is she winning this fight? How badly is she outnumbered? Before we can get any sort of answer, we get a really wide shot of a mysterious figure walking through a clearing in the forest. We push in for a low angle shot, which kind of breaks continuity a bit because now he's suddenly spinning about with this sword, which looks cool, but this cut here feels kind of jarring to me. It does lead to one of the best shots in the trailer though, as we get a perspective view from the hilt of the sword as it slices through the air and tears the scenery apart. We're about 40 seconds in, and aside from Kaya's little purple fireworks earlier, this is the first real use of magic. To me, that is a mistake. I think if you're trying to get people excited for a magical card game and you're telling a story governed by the use and misuse of magic, you want to get that in as early as possible. Now that the seal is broken, the magic is going to start getting used a bit more aggressively. Kaya does this backflip off a tree and goes ghost form again, which lets her slip through the grasp of one of the trolls. Despite fighting these things for a while now, there are still at least 7 right in front of her, and I'm realizing they appear to only have 2 character models. Some trolls have this same collection of tree branches on their back pointing right, and the others have a single smaller branch coming up out of their shoulder here. I'm sure they didn't intend for it to hold up to frame-by-frame examination, but giving these trolls a little bit more variety in size and style would have made them feel more real and threatening. For as unimpressed as I am with the trolls, I do want to give credit for this shot of Kaya. Her face displays very clear confusion, and her eyes bounce from target to target. That's a level of detail we don't usually find in animation. Often they let the eyes kind of float rather than lock on to individual objects within the scene. The lighting is just a little bit off. The forest seems to be pretty dark, but she's got highlights on the tip of her nose and on the underside of her eyes, even though there shouldn't be any light source down there. That said, it's probably still the most photoreal shot in the entire trailer. Overall, it looks really good and gives us a nice moment with the story's protagonist. And then there's the copy-paste trolls again. So right here, Kaya uses her ghost form for the 3rd time when nothing is threatening her. Are they implying she teleported up this tree? Her power can't actually do that. But it was necessary to get her into that tree quickly, so we can get this wide shot, which finally connects the mystery man to the trolls and everything else happening in the forest. Now we get to see the trolls run forward into this ripped open magical portal. I count at least 18 trolls in this shot, which really makes me wonder how Kaya survived against them at all. We also get to see the ruins of some wooden buildings. So earlier, when Kaya told that Viking to go save the others, she must have been sending him here? We don't see any other people in this scene, just the remnants of battle, so it's hard to tell. Then we have our big reveal, where the hooded figure turns out to be Tybalt. And I think this cut is a little awkward. The movement of his hand doesn't seem to line up quite right. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe they dropped a few frames in here to speed it up a bit. Composition-wise, we've got a red-skinned character standing in front of a red background, which is out of focus. Everything kind of blends together here. I don't love it. I think this is supposed to be the realm of the demons behind him, but since we're throwing out the story anyway, I would have gone with the zombies and given this an icy cool blue, just for some contrast. Tybalt is doing the classic Joker grin, which feels very cartoony here. Compared to Kaya's more subtle emotions, this is hamming it up like a lot, and I don't think it really matches with the tone of the trailer. I think a more subdued smirk would have been a better fit while still being within character for Tybalt. It's also not clear where the trolls are going or why. In the real story, Tybalt wanted to send them to Bredegard, home of the humans, but it looks like they're already there, having ransacked a human village. And now they're retreating, and Tybalt is happy about it? When we jump back to Inga Rune Eyes, we get some more magic, which is really colorful and fluid. It has weight to it, and it feels real. I like how these trees bend inward first, reacting to a sort of vacuum before exploding outward. This is very different from the forest scenes, which are dark and chaotic and have Kaya bouncing around like a pinball. And honestly, this is the tone I wish we had more of in this trailer. It feels more cosmic and more magical, you know? The sense of scale here is just way different, and I think it's a better fit for the set.
Kaya, help us, please.
Anyway, now we're in front of the Great Hall of Strixhaven, and Inga is not wearing any shoes. I'm not sure why. It feels like an Omen Seeker would always want to protect their feet while exploring, even if they are a wizard. She says, "Kaya, help us," and then a pair of axes appear in Kaya's hands, but they are identical to the ones she already had in her hands earlier in the trailer. This confuses me because it feels like these two scenes are happening at the same time, but this implies that maybe the boat stuff happened before the forest stuff, and I'm just not clear at this point. So Kaya then charges as Tybalt gives a playful little kiss, and then Kaya suddenly lurches forward in an awkward uphill jump. And that's where we end, on this close-up of an angry-looking Kaya screaming at the viewer. This is an energetic note to end on, and it's supposed to act as a sort of cliffhanger, right? Will Kaya reach Tybalt before the portal closes? Play the game to find out. The problem with this is that almost nothing else in the trailer happens in the game, or in the game's official story. So I'm not really invested in whether or not she's able to reach that portal, you know? Alright, so speaking as a film major, if I submitted this trailer to class, I probably would have got like a B or a B plus at best. It had a few good moments, mostly the sword doing its thing, and the close-up of Kaya as she sized up the trolls. I also generally liked the displays of magic. They were visually interesting, and it works for the trailer, even though it wasn't super clear what the effect of each spell was supposed to be. We go from a tight shot of a lone Viking bravely facing down trolls, to a similar shot of Kaya bravely yelling as she jumps at Tybalt. So there is a bit of symbolism in there, as Kaya stands in for the native of the plane and faces threats bigger than he would be able to handle himself. Cross-cutting with Inga adds spectacle, but it doesn't really help us understand what's happening in the story. I would have traded that for some wider shots of the trolls surrounding Kaya, and maybe following the Viking as he helps the survivors in the burning buildings. And again, if the whole point of this is to introduce magic to someone who is unfamiliar with its settings and characters, I probably would have tried to show some of the other creature types Kaldheim is known for. Get some demons in there, man! As for the music, metal has never been my thing, but I understand how they're using it for the branding of this set, so points for consistency, at least. So does this trailer tell us where we are, what's happening, and why? Kind of. We get a forest and some water near the shore, probably both in the realm of Bredegard. We get a quick trip to Strixhaven, somehow, and we get an over-the-shoulder look at what I'm guessing is Immersturm, the realm of the demons. Kaldheim is made up of 10 different realms. That's part of what makes it unique. So to only see a few slices of it feels like missed opportunity number one. What's happening? Well, Kaya is defending a village from trolls. But since we see no other people and all the buildings seem to already be on fire, it's not clear what she's hoping to accomplish. The damage is done and the people have already died or run away. We do at least get the impression Tybalt is responsible, and so Kaya does have motivation for chasing him at the end, which is as close as the trailer comes to aligning with the actual story for the set. Do we know why Tybalt is doing any of this, or why Kaya is the only one there to stop him? No. And that's missed opportunity number 2, which is really too bad, because this is probably the most important thing the trailer can set up for us. Why do we care? I don't even have to bring up the fact that they don't show Tyvar or Nico Eris or any of the gods or Vorinclex. The trailer's job is to make us curious enough to buy the cards or read the story or get engaged with Magic somehow. I mean, let me ask you, did the Kaldheim cinematic trailer get you excited to play with the cards? Will Strixhaven have a better trailer, and should I do a video talking about that one? Let me know down in the comments, and then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. We'll see ya!